Attorney General Pam Bondi is carrying out a purge of career prosecutors inside the Department of Justice, a purge unlike anything in recent American history.
You have purged hundreds of senior career officials since you first appeared before us. These men and women had dedicated their careers to protecting the American people. As a result, the department has lost literally thousands of years of law enforcement expertise.
When a senior United States Senator says the Department of Justice has lost thousands of years of experience, that's not political rhetoric. It's a warning for all Americans. Today, let's talk about one of the prosecutors she fired, a prosecutor whose work you already know, even if you don't know her name. She and her colleagues obtained the indictment of Jeffrey Epstein. This was a case that would test the most seasoned prosecutor. Epstein wasn't just wealthy. He had layers of protection, powerful friends, international connections, and a decades-long pattern of manipulating victims and obstructing investigations. And the scale of the harm he caused was staggering. He allegedly exploited and abused dozens, if not hundreds, of girls and young women. Building that case required relentless work, interviewing traumatized victims, untangling financial networks, fighting well-funded defense lawyers, and coordinating a complex multi-state investigation. Only a top-notch prosecutor is up for that, and Pam Bondi fired her. This fired prosecutor was also part of the trial team that prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime associate. And that trial was no small task. It lasted more than a month, with heart-wrenching testimony, complicated evidentiary issues, and a defense team fighting every inch of the way. I can tell you from experience, trials like that demand everything from a prosecutor. 16 to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, on edge every minute in the courtroom so you don't make a mistake that could overturn the conviction on appeal. Guiding the questioning of victims who have lived through real trauma, and doing it in a way that is both legally precise and humane. You're coordinating with agents, responding to motions, trying to stay one step ahead of skilled defense lawyers. That's the level of professionalism and endurance required to bring a case like Maxwell's to verdict. And this prosecutor did it. The fired prosecutor's name? Maureen Comey. And for context, Maureen Comey is the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, a longtime critic of President Trump, who the president commanded Pam Bondi to prosecute. Pam Bondi didn't say why she fired Maureen Comey. She didn't say she was fired for being James Comey's daughter. But she didn't have to, because everyone who's paying attention knows why Ms. Comey was fired. Maureen Comey is a Harvard Law School graduate where she was on the Harvard Law Review. She could have joined any elite law firm in America and made more money in 1 year than most of us see in 4 or 5. Instead, she chose public service, to hold the powerful accountable and to stand with victims. And she's not unique. The Department of Justice has always attracted people like her, graduates of our best law schools, the brightest legal minds who choose to serve the public. These are the people being fired by Pam Bondi. Not because of poor performance, not because they failed in court, but because the Attorney General is building a Justice Department where loyalty to the President is valued more than independent judgment and excellence. And here's something that should alarm every American. According to recent news reporting, many students at our best law schools who in the past fought for the chance to be federal prosecutors are now hesitant to apply. Many no longer see the Department of Justice as a place where the law comes first. They see a DOJ leader who appears to promote loyalty over the rule of law. This is how Pam Bondi is undermining our extraordinary Department of Justice. This is how one of our most important institutions is being gutted from the inside by the very person charged with leading it. And this purge isn't just about who's being fired, it's about how they're being fired. Career prosecutors who did nothing wrong and who received outstanding evaluations are being given no notice, none. They're being told their employment is terminated immediately under the President's Article II authority, the constitutional provision that governs the President's power. Here's a copy of the notice received by one federal prosecutor, apparently fired because he did his job and prosecuted rioters who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Pursuant to Article II of the United States Constitution and the laws of the United States, your employment with the Department of Justice is hereby terminated, and you are removed from federal service effective immediately. Article 2 is the constitutional provision governing executive power. That is the power of the President. But career civil servants, like career federal prosecutors, are protected by the Civil Service Reform Act. That law was passed to prevent exactly what we're seeing now, the creation of a politicized federal workforce. The law requires due process, reasons for the firing, and a right to appeal. None of that is being provided by Pam Bondi. In our constitutional system, Article 2 is not the last word. There's another part of the Constitution relevant to this conversation, Article 3. That's the article that creates the federal judiciary, and Article 3 judges don't answer to the president. They don't owe loyalty to the Attorney General. Their duty is only to the Constitution and law. The traditional independence of the Justice Department now depends on the independence of our judiciary, because when the President and Attorney General don't comply with the rule of law, our Article 3 judges are the only people who can stop them. That's why fired prosecutors like Maureen Comey have been filing federal lawsuits asking the courts to intervene to right the wrong that's been done to them and to reinstate them to their positions. Listen to Senator Durbin describe the kind of people being hired at DOJ to replace the Maureen Comeys who are being fired.
Jared Weiss was filmed on January 6th encouraging his fellow rioters to attack the Metropolitan Police Department officers. And he said, "F them, kill them." What happened to Mr. Weiss? He's been hired by you as a senior advisor. Acting U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Eric Siebert, a Republican appointed by President Trump, was forced to resign because he didn't believe there was sufficient evidence to indict New York Attorney General Letitia Adams or former FBI Director James Comey. In his place, President Trump installed his former personal attorney, someone with no prosecutorial experience, to indict Director Comey, which she did. She joins a network of unqualified MAGA loyalists masquerading as federal prosecutors, like Alina Habba, who said she would use her position to, quote, turn New Jersey red, close quote, and Sigal Chattah, who once said that a black political opponent was, quote, should be hanging from an effing crane, end of quote. The President and Attorney General attempted to bypass the Senate to install these unqualified extremists. Where do you find these people? Courts have ruled that both Ms. Habba and Ms. Chattah are serving in their roles illegally, jeopardizing countless prosecutions by your office. Why?
The people being driven out of DOJ by Pam Bondi aren't nameless bureaucrats. They're men and women who've devoted their careers to serve this country, often at great personal cost. They earned their positions through excellence, not through politics. And many good people still remain inside the department, doing their jobs with the same commitment to fairness and the rule of law that they've always had. But they're being overshadowed, and in some cases overruled, by a wave of politically chosen loyalists who haven't earned the trust or the responsibility that comes with federal power. This is something that should concern all of us, because when public service becomes a test of political loyalty, justice becomes something you can no longer trust. Thanks for listening, and remember, where law rules, justice follows.